If you're a poker player who's feeling overwhelmed right now, I made this video for you. Hopefully, this video will provide some light at the end of the tunnel and give you a framework to make things easier, to give you a feeling of control back that you're missing. Now, this video was inspired by a conversation I just had yesterday with my poker athletes, and the common theme that all the players were reporting to me was this feeling of being overwhelmed with everything that involves being a poker player. All the things they had to learn, all the parts of their games that they weren't happy with, all the mental part of the game they needed to improve. And there was so many things they felt they needed to do, it led to this overwhelmed feeling. And often they were reporting to me, rather than doing lots of stuff to fix the problem, it would leave them almost paralyzed. They'd have 20 things they had to do that day, and because there was so much, they'd end up doing none of it, or they'd end up doing the very minimum and feeling guilty for that. All right, so as a poker player right now, it's almost inevitable that you're going to hit this point where you're overwhelmed. You've got so many parts of your game to study. There's solvers to get stuck into, there's GTO wizards to play around with. There's so many things that you can be consuming, whether it's podcasts, reading books, working on your personal development, working on your mindset, working on your health, your relationships outside of poker. It's heavy. There's a lot going on. All right, so if you're at that point right now, this video is for you, and hopefully I want to give you a framework or some things you can start doing to make the process easier. All right, so when you're feeling overwhelmed, very often you're taking too much on. There's too many inputs. You're trying to work on too many things simultaneously. So I was talking to my poker athletes and we were fleshing out the problem. Almost all of them reported there was too much to do. There was just too many things to do in a day, too many things to do in a week, and they felt like they couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep up with the inflow of things they need to be doing. All right. So if that's you, step one of the process of getting out of overwhelm is to simplify. You really need to start cutting out things that aren't important. All right. You really need to start going, okay, what actually matters right now? All right. So there's 20 things on your priority list. What actually matters? All right, so simplify it. And I've got a really good question. I think it originally came from Tim Ferriss and the Tim Ferriss podcast when I listened to this. But I've asked myself this question for probably 6 months, and I ask myself every week. And the question is, what would this look like if it was easy? What would this look like if it was easy? All right, and you can apply that to any part of your life. Personally, I like to apply that to my week. So that's at the start of my week. What would this week look like if it was easy? And you simplify. You cut off all the things that are noise, that aren't relevant, that aren't helping you to move forward in the short term. All right, so the first step is simplification. You need to do this. If not, you're trying to juggle too many things at once. Simplify, cut out the things that aren't essential. All right, once you've done that, you can move into the second phase, which is prioritize. You need to get good at prioritizing what is important and what is not. It reminds me of a story I heard from Warren Buffett, and he got a friend of his who was struggling with overwhelmed and trying to do too many things, and he got him to write down 20 things that he wanted to achieve, his 20 things that he really wanted to get done and to pursue. And he told him to prioritize numbers 1 to 3. What are the 1 to 3 most important things? And then numbers 4 to 20, he told him to put it in a big box, around 4 to 20, and he said, right, do not touch these. Do not touch these. Do not put any time and energy into those. And the guy's initial reaction was, well, number 4 is still important. Number 5 is still pretty good. I still want number 6. And the lesson to be learned there was, no, you don't touch any of those until the highest priority things are done. Number 1 to 3, achieve those first. So when it comes to your days, in your life and your progression as a poker player, you've got to prioritize what is the most important thing right now. So when it comes to working on your technical game, you might have 30 areas of your game that are struggling. You might have leaks in all sorts of spots. You might have tagged 40 hands just yesterday. So many things to get through. All right, but what you need to do is go, okay, what is the one thing or 2 things I can work on for the next week, which are the highest value? You've really got to get good at this. Almost on a weekly basis, you've got to recalibrate and go, okay, what are my highest priorities for the week? I challenge the players I work with to only focus on 1 or 2 things. 3 max. I give 3 as a bit of leeway for you overachievers who can't even imagine only having 1 or 2 things to do or what to work on. All right, but you've got to simplify. You've got to prioritize what actually matters. When you do that, if you do those 2 steps well, what you realize is, oh, actually, the other things can wait. Some things aren't relevant at all. I don't need to get around to them. And this is the highest value use of my time. All right, which then sets us up to the 3rd thing you need to do. You need to systemize. You need to systemize your days so you're working towards the high value priorities. All right, so in simple terms, let's say you prioritize 1 thing to work on this week. You then need to create a system that has you execute on that on a consistent basis. And small amounts done consistently are way better than sporadic binges. All right, so rather than doing a 6-hour binge on a topic, you're much better off doing an hour a day. An hour chip away at that topic. Obviously, if you can't structure your days that way and maybe you have 1 study day or 1 learning day, then yeah, the binge approach might be your only option. But in general, just a consistent application towards something. All right, so if you could do those 3 things, almost always the overwhelmed feeling starts to release. All right, so just to recap, you simplify what's going on currently, what needs to be done, get rid of, ideally cut half the things off and completely remove them from your field of view, all right, completely get them off your to-do list. Then prioritize what actually really matters. What are the 1 to 3 things I can be working on which will have the biggest impact? All right, and then systemize. Pick a time of your day, that the when and the where, and you protect that. All right, so at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm studying check race spots. Right? You go very specific and you systemize that. And you create this momentum where every day you're working towards something. And you accept, which is the hard part, that you can't get everything done. That you can't get everything done. You can't study every spot. You can't listen to every podcast. You can't watch every YouTube video. You need to be selective of the things that are the highest value for you to be working on. All right, but if you do those 3 things together, I guarantee you the feeling of overwhelm you have will be a lot more manageable. All right, and that's the thing. We're going to have this tension as poker players, as ambitious humans. We're going to have this tension where we want to be doing stuff and we just haven't quite got enough resources. But by following this 3-step system, it will give you a lot more space and lower those feelings. All right, so get working on these things. Let me know in the comments below the things that are causing you to feel overwhelmed. I'm always very intrigued by what you guys are struggling with, and allows me to create content for you on this channel to help you solve those problems. So if anything is helping you feel overwhelmed right now or making you feel overwhelmed, let me know in the comments and I'll try to create some content or give you advice on how to solve that. Also, I've got a free PDF guide for you guys to download, which goes in depth of the 8 skills you need to level up for elite poker performance. I'll click on the link below and you can download that. And yeah, basically it's the 8 skills of the poker athlete, which I coach players through in my poker athlete program. And I've given you guys an overview of how to start working on them independently so you guys can start making progress with all those skills. All right guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you smash that like button before you go, and there's gonna be plenty more from me very soon.